Hello, welcome to Poetry Changes Lives. Every day of the year, poetry and history and a thought for the day. I think it's a very good combination, actually. You know, poetry and history are very often linked together. I mean, after all, before writing was invented, poetry was the only way of remembering history. The rhythm and the rhyme helped the primitive tribe to remember its history. Otherwise, I mean, how on earth could they have remembered anything, really? And poetry has never ceased throughout all the thousands of years of so-called civilization. It has never ceased to be a force for good, not always for good, sometimes a bit of badness as well. You know, poetry can be used as a weapon for war in some ways, but poetry usually is very benign, and it can be very powerful as a force for healing, for inspiration, for so many things, for self-discovery. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, I think. And though it has been with us forever, it has never really diminished in its power. It is an enormously powerful force in our lives. Sometimes we don't recognize it enough, I think. Well, on this day, 1950, the very great, but very tragic as well, I think, Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. On this day, he arrived in New York City for the first of his famous, one might say notorious, poetry reading tours. He did four tours in all, and they were hugely successful and were made, gave him a very useful source of income, because he was such a wastrel, and his heavy drinking caused huge financial problems for him and his family. So these tours of America were very, very useful to Dylan Thomas. But of course, the downside was that it sort of freed him from the restraints he might have felt when he was living at home. He sort of felt free to drink and philander, I may say, as much as he wanted, and it caused huge problems in his relationship with his wife, Caitlin, though it has to be said that her behavior did sometimes mirror his to a large extent. She was quite fond of the bottle herself at one time. Anyway, the tours eventually ended disastrously. On his fourth tour, a few years later, Dylan Thomas was almost permanently drunk the whole time, and he was suffering from gout and blackouts and severe headaches, and he collapsed one day at the Chelsea Hotel in Manhattan and was admitted to hospital in an alcoholic coma. The diagnosis was acute alcoholic encephalopathy, which really means alcohol poisoning causing coma. His wife Caitlin flew over. She had a drunken rage, a tantrum at the hospital, and was promptly herself put in a straitjacket and sent off to a detox unit. I mean, it was a very, very dysfunctional relationship altogether, sadly. Dylan Thomas, as we know, never recovered consciousness and died in hospital the next day, a tragic end. Caitlin, his wife, went on to marry again and died in Italy many years later, aged 80. She sorted herself out in the end and for the last 20 years of her life at least, she was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and clean and sober, and living a contented life. Good on her. You know, addiction is such a terrible disease. We should spare a thought for anybody struggling, as Dylan Thomas and his wife did. Well, today I'm going to read one of Dylan Thomas's poems from a much happier time, from his childhood. He could write such beautiful lyrical verses, particularly about his happy childhood. And he did most certainly have a fortunately happy childhood most of the time in Swansea and Coombe Donkin Drive, as you can still visit his house there. He wrote this beautiful poem, Fern Hill. He had an aunt, I think, who lived on a farm in the Welsh countryside where he would go school holidays in the summer, and obviously he absolutely adored it. And this poem is so lyrical about the passing of time and childhood and innocence and childhood experiences. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Fern Hill. Now as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house, and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingle starry, time let me hail and climb, golden in the heydays of his eyes, and honoured among wagons, I was prince of the apple towns, and once below a time I lordly held the trees and leaves, trail with daisies and barley down the rivers of the windfall light. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns, about the happy yard, and singing as the farm was home, in the sun that is young once only, time let me play and be golden in the mercy of his means. And green and golden I was, huntsman and herdsman, the calves sang to my horn, the foxes on the hills barked clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams. All the sun long it was running, it was lovely, the hay, fields high as the house, the tunes from the chimneys, it was air, and playing lovely and watery, and fire green as grass. And nightly under the simple stars, as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among stables, the nightjars flying with the ricks, and the horses flashing into the dark. And then to awake, and the farm, like a wanderer, white with the dew, come back, the cock on his shoulder. It was all shining, it was Adam and maiden. The sky gathered again, and the sun grew round that very day. So it must have been after the birth of the simple light in the first spinning place, the spellbound horses walking, warm, out of the whinnying green stable onto the fields of praise, and honoured among foxes and pheasants by the gay house under the new-made clouds, and happy as the heart was long, in the sun borne over and over, I ran my heedless ways, my wishes raced through the house-high hay, and nothing I cared, at my side blue trades, that time allows, in all his tuneful turning, so few and such morning songs, before the children green and golden follow him out of grace. Nothing I cared in the lamb-white days, that time would take me up to the swallow-thronged loft by the shadow of my hand, in the moon that is always rising, nor that riding to sleep I should hear him fly with the high fields, and wake to the farm forever fled from the childless land. Oh, as I was young and easy in the mercy of his means, time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea. I think that's wonderful. I hope you like that too. Thanks for listening.